Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this, our fifth update, day 5. It is the 2nd of May, and thankfully, all of our residents are once again safe. A couple more people have been removed or have voluntarily removed themselves from their homes. One home in particular, we had to put a building order under and on because it was unsafe. The water was moving underneath the foundation, and it stood a chance that it actually may be heading down the Moon River. I want to talk for a brief moment about some water levels at this time. Lake Rosso and Lake Joe, despite the hydrological data that we're seeing on Environment Canada's website, we have real-time people monitoring, and we've actually noticed about a 3-inch increase, 3-inch rise over the last 24 hours on Rosso and Joe. Lake Muskoka, we're actually realizing about a 1-inch rise. Moon River, especially at the headwaters, is very difficult. There's so much water moving through, but it seems to be relatively stable, which means we're trying to get a lot of water out of the moon, but everything is basically working its way down the water system. Our friends up in Huntsville, Mayor Scott Aitchison, have put them back. They are no longer under a state of emergency. Their waters are certainly receding, but unfortunately all of their water ultimately comes through Lake Muskoka and then out the Moon River. So hence the reason we are still in a state of emergency at this particular point. There's one new road closure over the past 24 hours, and that is Mortimer's Point Road. Unfortunately, it was too far buried, and we could not allow vehicle traffic anymore. The good news about Mortimer's Point Road are there are 2 access points. You can go down Foreman Road, or you can also go down Everly Road to access many of the properties on the on the eastern side of Mortimer's Point Road, and then Mortimer's Point Road also attaches to Highway 169, and you can access on the western side of the road properties there. So that road still remains closed. It's a district road, but any further updates we will let you know. We still, we did a couple days of sandbagging with the public, and we still have a stockpile at all 3 of our locations for those people who do need additional sandbags. Number 1 at the Bala Sports Park, number 2 the Glen Orchard, our works yard right across from the public school, and the 3rd is at Hannah Park in Port Carling. If you do need sandbags, please come, help yourself to those sandbags, and as our inventory depletes themselves, we will be refilling them. Yesterday, Minister Garneau, Minister of Transportation, issued a new marine restriction, a temporary restriction on our waterways. In particular, Lake Muskoka, the north and south branch of the Muskoka River coming into Bracebridge, as well as the Moon River, have all now undergone restricted marine travel. And what that means is the only people who are allowed out on the water are those people who are essential services. Our EMS, obviously, our fire department can access them. If you have a property that is water access only, yes, you are allowed to be on the water. If you're out there to rescue or protect someone. But if you are out there for a sightseeing tour, the OPP are on the water, and there are significant fines that will be associated. Please do not go out on the water. I will also extend this to Lake Rosso and Lake Joseph, though there's not the same marine restriction on those lakes. I'm encouraging you, if you are on those lakes, and especially if you have to go from an emergency perspective on Lake Muskoka, please go at idle. We have talked to many of the contractors and the marina operators. I believe many of you may have received from your own marina some correspondence. At idle, no wake at all times when you're on the water, so that we don't continue to compound the damages. Speaking of damage and cleanup, we've had a number of requests and questions about what do we do as we're going through our basements as the waters eventually start to recede, or as they're cleaning out stuff in their properties right now. Any damage that you have, first and foremost, contact your own insurance company. They need to be notified as to what's going on, and I know that they are going to, as well as the province in any particular time, are going to want photographic evidence. Thankfully, we all have cell phones. Take lots and lots of photos, especially of the high water marks and the damage that you have sustained at this particular point. Photographs are going to help. We are waiting for the province at this particular time to acknowledge that we may have an ability for disaster recovery assistance. They have not confirmed that yet. We are meeting with them today. We will be touring across the Muskoka Lakes. We are hoping for them. It will not be an immediate this afternoon, but hopefully in the coming days and or weeks, the province will step up and acknowledge those people for disaster recovery. I will point out, disaster recovery will qualify if this is your permanent residence. As a secondary residence, you will not qualify for disaster recovery. If you are in the process right now of cleaning up anything and you decide to take some stuff to our transfer stations, please keep all of those receipts. Number one, if you qualify for provincial assistance, the province is going to want to have those receipts. They need to be your receipts. They're not municipal receipts. So keep that, document everything going forward, and hopefully we can take care of everybody. A final word that I'd like to say today, I've been very vocal over the past number of days and weeks. I've actually been very vocal over the past number of years in the Muskoka River Water Management Plan, what's known as the MRWMP, that controls the watershed from Algonquin Park out to Georgian Bay. That plan, I believe, is out of date. I have called on the Premier in particular to address and look at this plan, not just to assess damage here in Muskoka. I have asked for a private meeting with the Premier. Thankfully, yesterday afternoon, I got a phone call from the Premier himself. He and I had a brief discussion on the phone, but we have agreed that tomorrow afternoon, he and I will be meeting in Muskoka, and we will be discussing the MRWMP, the Muskoka River Water Management Plan. I'm hoping that the province will certainly identify that there are issues within the plan. No, I am not an expert, but I do know, and I'll use the analogy, when my brakes on my car don't work, I don't have to be a mechanic to say that something's broken. And when we look at what's gone on in Muskoka and the upper watersheds, not just this year with higher than average snowpack, but consistently in and out, every 2 years, every 3 years, there is something broken within this plan. We are not addressing climate change. We are not addressing the physical limitations within the watershed. So thankfully the Premier has agreed, and he and I will be getting together tomorrow afternoon to discuss the MRWMP. For today, the 2nd of May, that's my final update, and look forward to speaking with those people tomorrow. If there's any issues or any questions, please feel free to call our township office, 705-765-3156. Thanks.